You're listening to the Everyday Astrology Podcast. I'm Hilary Scott, your astrologer, and this is the podcast about this solar eclipse that we've got coming up. It is a solar eclipse like many solar eclipses that we have. We do have solar and lunar eclipses twice a year, so it's not uncommon, but often they aren't where we can see them, and this one is actually completing an X across North America, or across like the eastern, I think Texas is kind of X marks the spot. And that one was in 2017, the other eclipse. So as the first new moon of the year, it's always important to really figure out kind of what you want to create for the full year ahead, because it is the new energy, like a whole new sort of, well, it's new on so many levels, but it's the new moon of the first month of the year, astrologically, because Aries, it all begins again. So it's a great time to get really clear on what you want to create in your life, what you want to create in your relationships, your love life, your diet and exercise, your spirituality, your financial world, what you do to take care of yourself, to take care of precious you. What do you do? These are the sorts of things that it's good to get really clear about at the new moon in Aries, which this is. But this actually happens to be extra special because it has a total solar eclipse in Aries. So, and it's starting kind of a new segment of eclipses in Aries and Libra. And it's conjunct Chiron. Saturn and Mars are going to be conjunct this day. Those are really big energies to put together with an eclipse. Also, eclipses often portend massive changes. Some often, like, people die or people are born. People are, big changes occur. It's not just death and birth, but like often it's the life you had before the eclipse and now the life that you have after. So it makes things very notable. It's a time when you look back to when that happened. And probably your whole life, if you look back to these sort of pivotal moments, you'll find that they happened around eclipses. So it's very potent, often referred to as the eclipse portal, because the lunar eclipse was on the 25th. Now we have the solar eclipse on the 8th. And there's this 2-week period where lots of things change. Lots of new things occur. Interesting things, shocking news will be revealed into the public's eye. Secrets are exposed. The trajectory gets completely shaken up of what was going on. And there's this opening for new things to begin. And it's interesting because the theory, or like, I don't know if it's like just supposed to be hard facts or how it's presented, but the idea that the moon crosses in front of the sun and blocks it out is, I don't think makes a lot of sense, because there's at least 50 eclipses in recorded history where the sun and the moon were in the sky at the same time, not together, and yet the eclipse still occurred. So if that's the case, then what is it? What is covering up the sun or the moon for the lunar eclipse during eclipses? If there's so much evidence of the sun and the moon being visible in the sky at the same time, when there's a solar eclipse, you can tell for sure that it's not the moon, because there's the moon over there. So interesting, the different theories. I've been really, I've thought about this. A lot of what we learn, we're just kind of told, right? And then we just take it for granted and we repeat it, and that's what it is. And we don't even really question. The more and more I dig into life, I realize how that is. And even with the eclipses, I've been talking about eclipses since 2009. I've been sharing information about the flavor of the eclipse that's happening. And because it is a different flavor in Aries than it would be in Scorpio, for instance. But this eclipse seems kind of extra special, because there's a lot of weird stuff going on around it that I feel is sort of fishy. And it's sort of piqued I have a Scorpio moon that I sort of love to go down the rabbit holes. And this is definitely one of those rabbit holes. I've been down the rabbit hole, a bunch of different ones relating to this eclipse. Not just your usual, like we've got an eclipse and that's big enough as it is, but the fact that this is an eclipse that they've decided to shoot rockets at during 45 minutes before the exact moment, 45 minutes after and during. They're going to shoot rockets And they're saying they're shooting them at the shadow of the moon. And they have this they're like going to be 260 miles up into the air that they're shooting them. Interesting. And they said that they're going to look for like disturbances in the ionosphere or something like that. That's why they're doing it. I find this really interesting, especially considering the fact that in Vedic astrology and other astrologies as well, the north and south nodes are considered Rahu and Ketu. And it's like a serpent being that this is, or a non-reflective planetary body. So we can't see it generally. But for some reason, when the nodes cross, we can see it. It covers the face of the sun or the moon, and it becomes visible to us. And it's also considered to have like a tail that's attached to it. But we can't normally perceive this. But there is footage that I saw, which is like great. I mean, now with all the footage in the world, like you could go down rabbit holes for the rest of your life and come up with interesting things. But there was really interesting footage of people being up in a plane during the time of the solar eclipse in 2015. And they have footage of the sun being covered and this like 3 smaller consecutive planets like trailing it, just like the mythology talked about, which is very interesting to me, which makes me think there's so much that the more that you learn, that we don't know so much. And I think no matter how much like we talk about science and what science is doing, I think science is probably just sort of like way behind what's actually going on. So many things are going on that we have no idea about, which is quite fascinating. So I think there's some sort of I theorized maybe they're trying to shoot this planetary body. Like they're actually trying to like hit it. I just can't figure out why they want to shoot at it. And then also, very interesting, is that they're decided to fire up CERN, the Hadron Collider, particle collider, and launch that and turn it on right at the time of the eclipse. Very strange. The theory is that they're going to do this to look for the dark matter that powers the universe. This is what they're doing. So I find that incredibly fishy. So I do believe that they just know so much more than we, the public, are told. And I think a lot of the times it's quite nefarious what's going on. I saw it was the opening ceremonies for the big underground tunnel connected to CERN. And it was incredibly bizarre and demonic and just incredibly creepy. This was if you can check out, I think it's the 2015 or 16 CERN opening ceremony. It makes no sense. Like, why does this sciencey facility, and they're going to do science stuff, why are they having ritualistic sort of demonic devil stuff go on to initiate the use of this machine? It just makes me wonder, is it Ghostbusters and we're opening the portal for the demons to enter, or what really is going on? You know, that's what I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. So I find that this is all very fishy. Also, there's been a lot of really weird things going on. Like even in Canada on Niagara Falls, it's going to cross over. There's a Canadian Niagara Falls and an American Niagara Falls. And Canada has decided to declare a state of emergency for this area, a pre-state of emergency, which gives the government incredible power over the people. They did this during the trucker convoy and took away people's money, froze bank accounts. There had been $10 million donated 2 times over to the movement to help fund the truckers and feed the truckers. And the Canadian government just went right in and took that $10 million times 2. So it gives, when they declare the state of emergency, they have all this overreaching, very, what's the word? Like communistic, dictatory, controlling the populace sort of power. So the fact that they're just going to use the eclipse to throw in another state of emergency is pretty strange, I find. Also, there's all kinds of warnings across the states about having enough food for 2 weeks, making sure your car's filled with gas. Just all the stuff that's going on makes me think that they're going to be like, we told you so. There's been an earthquake in New York, which is not uncommon with eclipses, is that there's geomagnetic stress and things change on the planet. So often there is like things going on with the weather or earthquakes happening, very strange sort of powerful tsunamis. That sort of energy can happen. In a lot of different cultures, the eclipse is considered dangerous. It's a malevolent energy. Often, I think, because it would make difficult things occur, or that was when difficult things would occur. So looking back at over those times in history, there's sort of shocking, strange things go down. So I can see how it can be perceived as malevolent, but it's also a time that brings in change. Like, I think the Wheel of Fortune is a very good, apt idea, is that you've got your fortune here and the Wheel of Fortune turns and something new is going to come into your life, something different than what came before. And it can be a great time to initiate entirely new timelines. So we've got that. Hopefully they don't sort of blow up the earth plane, or what is going to happen, who knows? I would like to be prepared for whatever it might be. I don't know how to prepare. We have extra water. I made sure that all the vehicles are filled with gas. I've got food in my house. Luckily, I'm kind of far away from the actual path of the eclipse. But in history, people did not look at the eclipse, and not because it was going to hurt your eyes, but because they often felt that there was diseases put upon man or come through the air, or that was the beginning of some sort of like disease process in the body. So I think heeding the guidance of the past can sometimes work out well. And so maybe just lay low on the eclipse. Don't put yourself in any dangerous situations. It is Aries, protect your head. Often Aries can have to do with head stuff, head trauma, bumping your head, really bad headaches, aneurysms, all sorts of things like that can be related to Aries. But also it's for us to like step into our power and be who we are and initiate and be brave and courageous and stand up for what's right, stand up for the underdog. So we can all sort of step into this more sort of self-aware, self-serving in a sense, but not just to be selfish, but to be all our own authority, that we can all be our sovereign selves with this Aries energy. When you put Mars and Saturn together, it can be like this intense set of discipline, like you're just able to focus and get it done and do what you need to do and be very disciplined. But it can also be cruel. And often when Mars and Saturn is in the chart of someone, they can be like somebody who's very cruel or just dark and evil. So that concerns me, that energy that could be considered evil is together. Of course, on the bright side, it's not evil. It's like disciplined and focused and able to get a lot of work done, able to put energy into work. So it can be like very, very productive. But there's also this sort of other caveat that it could be also like dark and evil. So that's why the whole CERN starting up the Hadron Collider and shooting at the eclipse stuff concerns me, because what is going on? Why would they be doing that? And even just finding out about it as we are, it's just all very interesting. Mercury will also be conjunct this moon, and it's retrograde. So it's not behaving as its normal self. It's in that sort of, let's look back, let's see what, like it's almost very contradictory, because the Aries new moon is like, go, go, go. But Mercury retrograde is like, wait a minute, what can we glean from the past? What do we need to redo? Is there missing steps that need to be complete? Is there something that we need to say, something we need to communicate? We need to get off our chests. How do we be our honest, truthful, authentic selves? Like, I think the world needs us all to be our like true and total selves, so that just fake everything can be identified much more easily, because we have enough strong vibrations of authenticity that we won't be fooled by AI generated video, or we won't be fooled by AI images or writing. We need to be our authentic selves, not mimicking, not parroting, so that energy stays strong while we're in this weird transformation into this heavily manipulated world that we're living in. It's a pretty crazy world that we're living in, especially with AI. Pluto's gone into Aquarius. It's just a lot. A lot is going on. I think that one of the big energies that we've got coming up, this is like really the biggest month of the year for changes and interesting stuff going on. is Jupiter and Uranus will be in a conjunction. We're already feeling it, but on the 20th, it becomes exact. And that is just very expansive and benevolent and sudden. Like suddenly we know things, suddenly the truth is revealed. I think that is the energy that it could be. But it could also sort of exaggerate and shock. And there's just so many things. When you look at Uranus as like the rebel change maker, the unexpected out of the blue energy that brings downloads of new information and just sort of skips along with evolution very fast and unconcerned with being status quo or acceptable to the masses. It's just very individualistic. And then also Jupiter is very truthful. So it's very truth-seeking energy. So I hope this is maybe the energy of the whistleblowers, that this Jupiter and Uranus energy combined could very much help protect and encourage the people that are here in this world to tell the truth, share what they know, express what they found out. So many secrets, just we're only as sick as our secrets. So we need all of this to be exposed, whatever it is, whether it's the P. Diddy's of the world or the Epsteins or all. I mean, I'm sure that's just the tip of the iceberg, what's going on. Like it's coming out, the Disney documentaries coming out about Quiet on Set, about the abuse that was going on for the teen shows that were happening back then. I'm sure it's all still going on now. But there's these little truths that are seeping into the public. I'm sure there's going to be more truths. And I think that this Jupiter-Uranus energy could be very liberating and shocking and change the way society works. So feel that. You're going to feel that in your own life too. That's coming up on the 20th. That's a big deal. So the next few weeks, we're already in it, are a pretty big deal. I think keeping grounded is probably a really good idea. Keeping your feet on the ground, keeping your hands in the dirt, make sure that you're hydrated, that you're probably like drinking some salt water so that your cells are getting hydrated. Whatever you can do to be strong and healthy is going to help you weather this crazy time we're in. Even because we're affected by the electromagnetic atmosphere and all the stuff they're spraying all the time in the skies full of different kinds of metals. So are they using that to steer the weather when they fire up like HAARP and CERN? Are they using the metals? I'm sure that they must be on some level. So we're affected by this and we need to do what we need to do to be strong and clear and not so devastatingly affected by this. And we can just sort of like adapt to it and evolve with it, whatever this is. Ideally, we will manifest the highest vibrational outcome with this energy for the solar eclipse new moon in Aries on April 8th. Make sure that you keep as high vibration as you can that day. Be joyful and happy and tap into the things that bring you love in your heart and share the love and like ricochet the love all over the place, because we can amplify the good on the planet. And then maybe we can somehow mitigate whatever's going on with the things we don't know about that are going on. That's all we can do ultimately. So thank you so much for listening again. I very much appreciate you being here, and I hope that you're able to use the information to bring in the best life you can imagine for yourself. Many blessings.